Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast, your highest source of sacred truths and universal wisdom. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Rachel Fiori, mystic, spiritual teacher, psychic healer, and founder of Masters of Self University. Join our journey of soul transformation as we deep dive into this latest episode. Hello, magnificent beings. Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast. I'm Rachel Fiori, your host for this episode. So, beautiful souls, before you take action on something, I want you to do this. That's what this episode is about. Before you take action, this means before you react, before you respond. I am going to break this down into a step-by-step, and I'm going to teach you the incredible importance of every one of these little steps that I'm going to give you today. Now, before I do that, because I know some of you will hear the first thing I'm about to say and go, oh, who doesn't know that? I already knew that. This isn't anything profound, Rachel, except that I am going to take this to a much more elevated and a much higher level for you so that you can see it from that elevated level, from the level of, a college class versus a high school class. Okay. That's an analogy I often use. What grade are you in? Okay. So I want you to see this and understand this from a much higher level instead of assuming what I'm about to say is you already know it. Because that is one mistake we often make on our path. So, one quick analogy before I go into this. It's easy to say, yeah, I know how to do math. But a fourth grader saying, oh, I can do math, I know how to do math, versus somebody who studies quantum physics. Very different level of math. Math isn't math. And yet, math is math. Aren't both of those true? Quantum physics has 1 + 1 and easy multiplication in it, It also has way more advanced math. Both are true. And yet somebody in, second grade who can do some math can do little tiny bits of what quantum physics is, can't they? And yet, can they do quantum physics? No. Do you understand? So I want you to move through this episode listening to this teaching, and I invite you to expand and elevate higher and become a more elevated being in the universal ways of oneness, to understand this on a much higher level. I don't want you to look at this from the 5th grade level or the, 9th grade level that you've been able to master so far. I want you to look at it from a level of a doctorate degree or a college degree or master's degree. Do you understand? I want you to see this from a much higher perspective. So something happens, there is a conflict, there is a problem. There is something that triggers you, and oh, that does not feel good. I need to handle this. I don't care if it's business, at work. I don't care if it's between another person on this planet, no matter who they are, your marriage, your spouse. Okay. I can be talking about anything, a client. I could be talking about any example in the whole world right now. All right. Before you text back, before you email back, before you call back, before you in real time in a meeting or with somebody you're hanging out with, before you respond and say anything, I want you to understand how we become the universal ways of oneness to become way more elevated beings. The way of responsibility means, ooh, I don't like this right now. This was bullshit. I just got screwed over. That was unkind. That was whatever the scenario. And there is a lack of divinity here. Holy shit. I'm so triggered. Whatever. The way of responsibility means I have the self-awareness to know that I'm not in the way of presence right now because I'm triggered and activated in some reactions right now because this was bullshit. This was really unloving. This was really unkind. This is not fair. Now, the way of responsibility teaches us that acute level of self-awareness where, why do I think this is unfair? Because it actually is unfair. You actually are acting like a fucking selfish asshole right now. You selfish asshole right now. Is that really the case? Or is your unhealed inner child wound activated where everything from your perspective is unfair? Because you were treated unfairly as a child and that wound is still there. You have not gained your power yet and alchemized that yet so that it no longer exists inside of you. And because of that, you would no longer have this unfairness kind of, reaction to things and victim consciousness reaction to things. Which is it? What is the way of truth? Ooh, it is my responsibility to know, capital K, know, in this moment when I am triggered and activated because this does not feel good and you're being shitty to me, or that was bullshit what you just did. It is my responsibility as the way of responsibility to know if I feel that way because I have an unhealed wound. I have programs that I have not alchemized and healed yet, which means you are here in this moment to show me what I need to heal about myself so I can elevate and become a more enlightened being in this moment. And this is the scenario that is offered to me that's going to help me to get there. Is that the case? Well, that's my responsibility to know that. If I am fully healed and whole, but this doesn't feel good because what you're doing is absolute fucking bullshit and you're screwing me over, right? If that's the case, even in that case, I have no wounds, no programs, healed and whole over here. But it still doesn't feel good because what you're doing is bullshit. That's never supposed to feel good. You're not going to feel joy from that. Hello? Doesn't make sense. So it's not going to feel good. So before I react, before I answer you, before I email you back, before I call you back, before I text you, before I say anything right now, if we are in real time with one another, I am going to breathe and take a pause. What does that do? That means I become the way of patience. Now, some of you, I already warned you. Some of you listen to that. I already know to do that. Respond versus react, Rachel. I'm taking you way higher than the respond versus react crap. Respond versus react is great to teach if you're, at a junior high school level of spirituality. Okay. No different than my math example. I'm teaching you quantum physics. You're still functioning in, fractions and algebra. I want you to go higher than that. So yes, beautiful teaching, respond versus react. Taking you higher than that. Isn't just about responding, because a lot of times we push pause and we don't react and we hold it in. Well, I'm not going to react. I'm not going to react. I'm not going to react. Great. But I still have to respond to this. What does that actually mean, though? I still have to respond to it. What does that literally mean? This is where the more elevated teachings come in to take you step by step by step. Well, the first thing is take a deep breath and pause. That is becoming the way of patience. I'm going to have patience. I'm not going to have a knee-jerk reaction and be out of control. The way of patience means I have self-control because I just pushed pause. The way of patience, the universal way of oneness. Number 2, I'm taking a breath. I just push the pause button on myself. I breathe. I realize I am triggered. I don't like this. This is bullshit. I probably need to respond to this. And yet, because I'm triggered right now, because I already am the way of responsibility, remember? Way of responsibility is number 1. Way of patience is number 2. What does that mean? Because I cannot be the way of patience if I'm not first the way of responsibility. So because I just pushed pause, I just took a breath. In the way of responsibility and the way of patience, I understand if I am triggered and activated in wounding, in disconnection, in judgment, in my lack of divinity. You might be doing something that is absolute fucking bullshit. Fuck you. But if I have judgment of you about it right now, I lack divinity in this moment. I should never respond to you from a lack of divinity. That means I am in resistance to this scenario, to you, to this situation. Resistance is a dysfunctional, unhealthy, unenlightened way to be. The way of responsibility, the way of patience leads us to becoming the way of surrender. That means I am in flow with the universe. I'm in flow with my divinity. Do you understand? Just because you are showing up in a bullshit asshole kind of way doesn't mean I need to be in resistance in my life. And understand what that means, resistance. It doesn't mean it's okay what you're doing. It doesn't mean I'm passive. It doesn't mean I'm a doormat. Zero resistance means I am in flow with how the universe evolves, how the universe flows, how the universe exists with what is. The universe itself is powerful enough to rise above, to overcome, to alchemize, to create something completely different. That's what divinity is. The creator of all creations. Think about that. If I'm in resistance, I am not a divine creator in that moment. I mean, not a divine creator of anything that is filled with light and love and divinity. So, in a certain aspect, I'm still a divine creator. I'm just going to sit here in this moment energetically and create more fucking bullshit that I don't want to experience because I lack the divinity and the enlightenment and the spiritual, mystical maturity within myself to be a more evolved being in this moment. Why? Because I lack the way of responsibility. I lack the way of patience. I lack the way of surrender because I'm not elevated enough. I haven't become those things yet. That means all I'm doing is creating more of what I don't want to be experiencing, more lack of love, more bullshit people doing things to me that I don't want to experience because I haven't yet evolved enough as a being myself. If I am the way of surrender and I'm in flow with what is happening, that means I can flow out, I can rise above what is happening. If I'm in resistance, I lock myself in, I cement myself in to this vibrational frequency that you just offered to me, which is asshole, selfish bullshit. It's unfair, it's unkind, it's unloving. Why in God's name would you cement yourself into that vibrational frequency instead of becoming the way of surrender and flowing out of it, rising above it? You can't do that if you don't have the flexibility and the flow energetically to rise above, to expand out of what this vibrational frequency is. The way of surrender means fluidity, flow, movement, flexibility. It means the ability to fly higher and rise above and become the vibrational frequency needed to be a higher vibrational frequency. So I no longer entangle and experience this with you because this right here with you sucks. That's the way of surrender. So instead of texting, responding, answering back, emailing, bleh, I become, I become, I become. I become with the way of surrender. It's easier for me to see the universal truth in this. And the truth is, are there any programs I am running? If so, it's time for me to heal myself. This is bullshit. Why I keep experiencing this kind of crap and I keep experiencing this kind of crap because I am actually in that vibrational frequency, allowing this kind of crap in right now because I haven't healed that 6-year-old aspect of me or that 12-year-old aspect of me. That's the way of truth. The way of truth. Oh, this might be just a nice, beautiful test and challenge for me in order to give me the opportunity to become more powerful. We know to become more powerful, we are faced with challenge. We are given challenge in order to expand and rise through and rise above and become a more powerful, elevated being with challenge. If every fucking thing we experience in a lifetime as humans is easy, there's no challenge. You digress, you regress, you resort back to. You don't grow and you don't expand. Do you understand that? The way of truth allows me to see, allows me to develop more discernment because I'm not coming from my truth and selfishness and a lower level perspective and a low level of consciousness. I am willing and able to see the truth in this scenario. If there's wounding in me that I need to heal, I do it. I see it. I take care of it because I am the way of responsibility, patience, surrender, and truth after all, remember? If this is giving me an opportunity simply to set a more powerful boundary that I need to learn how to do with people, then what a beautiful gift this is. It's allowing me to become more powerful, more divine, because that's what divinity is capable of doing, setting boundaries when I need to set them in a healthy way with zero judgment. And for those of you who are like, I don't, this boundary thing, oh my God, I've been going through this boundary thing, setting boundaries for like years now. Oh my God, I set boundaries. Careful. Do you? So here's the first question, but do you? Do you make suggestions and hope people will respect you and follow through? Or do you set a fucking boundary? Because there is a massive difference between hinting and suggesting to people that they respect you and don't blow through and actually setting the goddamn boundary. Boundary means I'm willing to give a consequence, positive or negative. It doesn't matter what the consequence is. I'm willing to do it. I follow through immediately. When I set a boundary, I fucking mean it. I will hang up the phone if you keep screaming like that. Okay, you're going to keep screaming. I'm hanging up on you. Hang the fucking phone. I'm leaving. I am leaving Christmas dinner. But it's Christmas dinner. Stop making your fucking excuses. But it's my family. If they're acting like abusive fucking assholes, criticizing you, being dickheads to you, what the fuck are you doing there to begin with? You don't know what a boundary is because you showed up. And you wonder, and life is unfair, and I don't understand why I keep going through this. Yes, you do. You keep creating, you keep allowing it to happen. Bree, it's my responsibility to elevate. Do you understand? I, meaning every single human on this planet. It is my responsibility to elevate. So maybe you don't go to the holiday dinner because you know what's going to fucking happen. Stop making excuses why you go. If that is a boundary you need to set, fucking set it. Become powerful enough and stop making excuses for yourself. Stop with but. Weakness, 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 powerlessness. Knock it off. You're more divinely powerful than that. Grow up, show up in a higher level of vibrational frequency. Become the way of truth. Now you show up and you need to set a boundary. Set the goddamn boundary. If this is how I'm going to be treated while I'm here, if this is how you're going to speak to me, if this is the kind of unloving, critical, sabotaging interaction that you're going to create while we're here together at, Sunday dinner or Christmas dinner or whatever, I'm going to leave. I would hope we could have a more loving interaction while we spend quality time together. And if you can't and you refuse to show up that way, that's okay. I'm not judging you for that. I am not going to put up with it though. I'm going to leave. And then fucking leave. Become the way of presence in these moments. It means you don't have judgment. Actively listen to other people to understand where they're coming from. That means sometimes understanding what programs they're running and projecting onto you. If I have a deeper understanding of that, and I know that you're just going to project this bullshit, it isn't true. Not true. I don't show up this way. You're projecting that onto me because of your dysfunction. Okay, the way of truth, the way of presence. I see that, but I see it with no judgment. I'm in flow with this. I don't have resistance to seeing what you are and how you choose to show up in the world. I have no judgment of it either. I'm not superior. I don't lack the way of equality. I am the way of equality. I'm not superior to you. I am in a different grade. That's pretty obvious. And this is very true for a lot of people in their families, especially in the holidays. You hope it's going to be different. It's not. That's okay. You don't need to judge your family. You do need to set the goddamn healthy boundaries with your family. You're supposed to be more elevated than that. Do you understand? Role model what it means to be healthy and powerful. Role model it. Hello, if they had that role model to them and they had that taught to them growing up and in life so far, they wouldn't be showing up the way they are. Who the hell's going to role model it if it isn't you? Let that sink in. Show them how to be a more divine, healthier being, a more powerful being. They don't know what it looks like. They don't know what it sounds like. Stop being weak and codependent with your fucking family, especially during holidays. Knock it off. Show them there's a different way. Showing them there's a different way doesn't mean they're not going to have resistance to it. They're dysfunctional. They don't know any better. That's okay. Don't judge them. Just be more enlightened than them. It gives them the chance, at least in this lifetime, to grow up a little bit, to heal, to become more evolved. It gives them the chance to experience a little bit more higher level of mental and emotional freedom. That's what you're giving to them. When you don't put up with their shit anymore, when you set the goddamn boundaries and role model what that looks like, sounds like, is like through the action you take. But before you take those actions, you become the goddamn ways of oneness first. Because if you have judgment of them, then you're still functioning at a very low vibrational frequency and a low level of consciousness. You're not more elevated than them when you're judging them. You just have a different low vibration. And this is what I want you to awaken out of. This is my invitation to you to evolve more and become more elevated. And the only way you know how you're doing is through the interactions with other people, and sometimes through other people doing shitty things to you. How are you going to show up this time when it happens? But before you react, before you respond, before you take action, before you send that email, before you say you think you're setting a boundary, you have to become the way of connection. That means you and your divinity only, you and your higher soul. Alchemize, alchemize, alchemize everything in you that wants to judge, that wants to make them inferior to you. Just because, here's an excuse I hear a lot: I wouldn't do that to anybody, but I would never do that. Maybe you wouldn't. Maybe you wouldn't do what they're doing to you. Maybe you have never done that to another person, what they're doing to you. And yet you're sitting here in judgment and superiority. So look at how you are showing up in this world, creating more inequality because you keep showing up in judgment, in criticism of other people. Stop judging and criticizing other people, the sleepers, the unawakened, the unconscious. Stop judging them. Set the boundaries. Have zero tolerance for the bullshit, but stop with the fucking judgment and the criticism. Those are superiority programs. Those are inequality programs. So when somebody emails you, when somebody does something to you, when somebody's being unfair, unkind, selfish, whatever, to whatever degree, on a scale of 1 to 10, it could be a 0.5 or it could be 100 on a scale of 1 to 10. Whatever it is that you are experiencing, become the ways of oneness first before you take action. Become the way of presence. Feel that level of peace, receptivity of the others, of whoever's doing whatever to you, that surrender, the way of surrender. Become the ways of oneness. Become harmlessness and gentleness. Become compassion. Become the way of connection. You're not connecting to them and their dysfunction. You're connecting to your own divinity. That is the way of connection. That means the power and the divine energy to alchemize any negative emotions you have. You should be coming from a place of divine power before you text back. You should be coming from a place of divine power before you open your fucking mouth and set any kind of boundary. You should be coming from a place of divine power before you take action, before you say anything, before you make a decision in life. Come from divine power. Alchemize your fear, alchemize your insecurities, alchemize your powerlessness. Become the 20 universal ways of oneness. Create harmony on this planet instead of more dysfunction and disharmony. You have the power and the ability to do that, but you have to be willing to learn how to become the ways of oneness. In the moments in real time, those are the moments of becoming. It isn't by sitting on a mountain and meditating for 30 years. It's not. Sorry. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with that. And if you just misinterpreted that I'm putting that down and saying there's something wrong and somebody shouldn't do that, you're the one who's in your fucking batshit crazy mind. You misinterpreted. You just projected onto me what you made up in your mind. I said, I never fucking said that. You see how crazy our minds are? Some of you are like, I just fucking did that, Rachel. I'm sorry. If you're still creating dualistic bullshit, that's your mind. That's not my teaching. There's a difference. There is no inequality. We're not putting people down by creating superiority, inferiority bullshit programs anymore. We're learning how to become beings of oneness consciousness. That is what I'm teaching you how to do. Elevate, connect to your energetic divine power from that powerful place of divinity. That is where I want you to then, inside of yourself, do I feel peaceful? Do I feel judgment of this person? Then if it's yes, that's the way of truth. Don't fucking email them back yet. Breathe, alchemize, heal, elevate, evolve, and then respond. Now, I'm going to say two things about that. Some responses that you need to give, some answers you need to give, for example, you may not have alchemized enough yet. You might still have a long way to go. You might still be frustrated or hurt or angry or whatever, and you have to give a response. So to the best of your ability, you become the highest level of oneness consciousness you can become in that moment. That's it. You do the best you can, but you do it. And then you respond. You might still have wounding. You might still have programs running. You might still have some judgment. You might still have some frustration or anger. You do everything you can to alchemize and rise above and elevate and become a higher, more enlightened being before you take action and give the answer that you have to give by this deadline, for example. If you can, you say, I just want to let you know, I'm not ignoring you. I am going to give a response. I need it to be a heartfelt response. So, I just ask you for your patience. I will get back to you as soon as I can offer you a heartfelt response. That is something that you can do. That is the way of truth. Absolutely refusing to answer, respond, connect to another person from your judgment, your dysfunction, your programs, your wounding. That's what it means to become an enlightened being over time. I will not. You could be really fucked up and doing something very wrong. And yet, I am not answering you from a place of a lack of divinity. I am abundant. I don't come from lack. You see it? So I evolve into the abundance that I am through the way of compassion for myself that hurt my feelings. That's fucked up. Or I'm angry because what you're doing is absolute fucking bullshit. Selfish. Fuck you. That might be the case. But I will not entangle my energies with you at such a fucked up, dysfunctional, low vibrational frequency. So if that gets activated and triggered inside of me, oh, look at that, the way of responsibility, the way of truth. I can see that in myself, which is why I am the way of patience and I am the way of surrender and I am the way of presence and truth and compassion with myself. And I alchemize and I heal and I elevate myself first. And then I will give you a response. And again, the only exception to that is to say, I am not in a place to give you a response right now. I just wanted to let you know that when I am able to come from a heartfelt place, I will respond and I appreciate your patience. Something along those lines. That's the way of honoring. That's the way of truth. That's the way of responsibility. And then the second thing is whether you need to say that or you just don't, maybe in some scenarios, you don't have to say a damn thing. You just respond when you respond, and it might be a week later. because you are processing and you are healing and you are working through and you are making sure that what you do to answer or handle that scenario is coming from a divine place of power, from oneness consciousness, no more separation consciousness. That is our responsibility as divine, evolving adults. That's what enlightened beings do. You see it? And until you can become fully enlightened, this is how you get there. It's okay in a moment if you're like, oh my God, you motherfucker, fuck. Oh, I'm so fucking angry. You fucking piece of shit. Oh my God, what a fucking bitch. You terrible fucking person, you. That might have gotten activated in you. We are the way of truth, remember? If that's activated in here, it's like, oh, look at that. I am not being very divine right now. And instead of spewing that dysfunctional fucking garbage all over the place, first of all, that other person already did that to you. Isn't there enough of that in the world? Stop lowering yourself and being entangling energetically with that bullshit and just spewing that all over the place. Stop it. Stop enhancing the dysfunction. It's the way of truth that, oh my God, I am so fucking angry. Oh. Or maybe it created a tremendous amount of anxiety. You don't normally have anxiety. But, oh, this really did create that in me right now. That's okay. What's not okay is to respond with that energy and take action with that energy. And what's not okay is that you don't heal that energy within yourself. That's what's not okay. Hope you see the difference. Before you take action, you become the ways of oneness. And even just the first handful of ways, you will heal this planet at a much faster pace, excuse me, at a much faster pace when the place that you are coming from is authentically, genuinely oneness consciousness, divinity, enlightenment. But you have to be willing to become it. Saying you do it isn't the same thing. Showing up with all your marketing shit and editing of your videos on social media and crap doesn't mean that's who you are as a being. Think about that. Just be that for real. Become that for real. This is a becoming, a new earth. We become the new earth that we want to experience. We become it. As we become it first, we then create it and project that in a holographic form based on what my vibrational frequency is. My vibrational frequency, when I become the new earth first, I then project that outwardly. And as I project that, in the holographic form, because it's just a reflection of what I am, my vibrational frequencies, everything in your reality begins to elevate and change and transform because you've elevated and changed and transformed. Oneness consciousness. I am what I see. I am what I create. What is created, I am a reflection of. In separation consciousness, we were born and birthed into separation consciousness. So we first learned that we're separate and we're powerless and we're all the things. God is outside of us and et cetera, et cetera. And what we do is we manifest and we create our realities based on separation consciousness. And then we're always a victim and we're always very passive. And when we take action and we manifest and create things and we become active, and we take action, we're actually still coming from separation consciousness. And then usually our relationships are a reflection of that. Our businesses that we build are a reflection of that. The struggles and the challenges in life that we experience are a reflection of that. And we wonder why we fucking suffer and life is like hell on earth. Evolving out of that, if you are born in this lifetime, you have been given the opportunity, number one. And number two, you have the ability to become what your soul wants you to become on behalf of you as a human having this human experience in this lifetime on behalf of all of Earth and all of the beings on Earth. Because when you become the 20 universal ways of oneness, when you become a being of oneness consciousness, you have flipped the upside down world right side up. And that is this transformation ascension process. Creating a world that has been flipped upside down. And I mean that figuratively, and I mean that fucking literally. Go down a rabbit hole and figure out what I'm talking about right now. Beings have flipped this planet upside down. Everything is fucking backwards. Everything is upside down and backwards in the old earth. That's what separation consciousness does. Flips you upside down and backwards. Everything you think is true is fucking false. Even how you manifest and create. You can only manifest and create in a world of separation consciousness, a matrix of separation consciousness of enslavement. You have to learn the rules of manifestation from a place of separation. And when you are becoming a being of oneness consciousness, we are writing things. We are flipping the upside down to right side up. We are functioning in divinity, becoming the oneness, becoming the divinity, becoming the wisdom, the way of wisdom. We are becoming these things. And as we become from the inside out, our outside world becomes what we are on the inside. And that, instead of our outside world influencing us, our outside world of enslavement, of inequality, of all this crazy hierarchy of wealth and poverty and all the fucking dualistic separation bullshit that has been created, the outside world impacts your inside world, your internal world in the old world, the old earth. The outside world, with all its negative vibrational frequencies, is constantly creating you to be at a lower vibrational frequency, to struggle, to suffer, to have pain, to be stuck, to never be able to elevate and get out of this bullshit. Because the outside world is creating the inside world. That is backwards and upside down. You have to awaken enough to realize that and say, oh my God, my inside world creates my outside world. And of course, both are true. Of course, the outside world influences the inside world, the inside of you, the internal you, because the internal you creates the outside world. Both are true because that's oneness consciousness. As you evolve more and create the new earth, you realize you are creating it. It isn't being created for you. Get the fuck out of here. How passive and powerless and weak are you? You create it by becoming it first. You become the new earth first, which means you elevate and become oneness consciousness. The new earth doesn't have anything other than oneness consciousness frequencies and matrix in it. That's it. That is the new earth. There's no more separation consciousness. A new earth isn't going to be created and be a mimic and a replica of the old earth. It's not allowed. We're not doing that. We're not creating two earths of separation consciousness. This doesn't make any fucking sense. It isn't a passive process. You don't become spiritual and meditate a lot and think you're ending up on the new fucking earth. It's ridiculous. How immature and irresponsible and entitled. No. No, no, no. You become the new earth. And as you become, you create the new earth. You become the new earth with the power and the divinity that you are and the elevation that you are becoming. And the more elevated that you become, you are creating a reality that is the new earth. You are becoming the frequencies that make up the new earth, therefore creating the new earth, therefore experiencing a reality that is oneness consciousness, that is harmlessness and gentleness and compassion and unconditional love and selfless service and integrity and humility and forgiveness and purity and wisdom and compassion and connection. You are creating that because you are that. And because you are becoming that, you are creating that. Because you are becoming that and creating that, that means you are experiencing that. Because you are becoming that and creating that, your reality shifts and changes around you. And then you start to see a new world with new elevated people that support you and surround you and function the way that you do in very similar ways, even though we are still different, our vibrational frequencies are functioning of those that are of enlightened beings, because we are becoming enlightened beings, which means the new earth is an enlightened new earth and vibrate at the frequencies of enlightenment because we have become that and are becoming that. Do you see how this works? What you want to see out there, you have to become in here. And you make no excuses and no justifications for being anything less than the enlightened frequencies of the universal ways of oneness. If you haven't started to become them yet, become them right now. You have free will choice. Become the way of responsibility. Read the 20 Universal Ways of Oneness. You can get it on Amazon. Check out our coaching programs at Masters of Self University. And look on our website at Masters of Self University for our live events. Attend our live events that we are starting in 2024. They will be in San Diego, California to start with. Go check our website out. Come to the live events that we will be having in the very, very near future. Get the vibrational frequencies, the activations of the 20 Universal Ways of Oneness. That's part of what you will receive at these live events. Anchoring in the frequencies inside of you, and then you get to start to live those frequencies. You become. You have to be willing to become. That means healing your shadow self. Come to those live events. What can you do in the meantime? Go to our coaching programs. Connect to the power that you have within, to your own divinity. That is an energetic connection. There's a process to learn how to do that. Start there. The more you become, the more you create the new earth, the more you experience the new earth, the more this shifts everything. The more distant you become. The old earth fades away. You become more distant from the violence and the horrors because you're creating something new, because you're becoming something new and more elevated. Do you understand? That is how this works. You want to become that and you need help to become that, go to mastersofselfuniversity.com. We're going to help you. That's why we're here. We are creating the new earth. Every person who is elevating and becoming the vibrational frequencies of oneness consciousness, you are creating the new earth. People who are just spiritual, it doesn't mean you're creating the earth and you're going to be on it. The way of wisdom, the way of truth. Hello, wake up for real. That's my invitation to you. Become the 20 ways of oneness. Set yourself free from the old matrix by becoming the universal ways of oneness. Set yourself free from anybody being able to brainwash you and condition you and enslave you ever, ever, ever again. How can you do that? Get the fuck out of your mind. You can't think your way to a new earth. If you are mind dominated, you're not on a new earth and you're not going to fucking make it. You can't be trapped in mind and mental programs. That is a low fucking level of consciousness, which is not allowed. That is not the vibrational frequency of the new earth. Do you understand? It's like saying you're going to go on a racetrack, all those cars racing around, vroom, 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 going 100, whatever. I don't know how fast they go, miles per hour. And you get in your little Prius and you jump on the racetrack and you think you're racing on a racetrack with the racing cars. You're not. The Prius isn't allowed on. It would get you killed. It would kill the other racers who are racing for real. Just because you go fast in your car that you drive doesn't mean you're a fucking race car driver in a race car. There is a difference. Simple analogy I just gave you, huh? Easy to understand that. You would never be allowed on the racetrack. You can't get on a racetrack in your fucking Prius. Okay? You can't. You can't get on the track. You can't race with race cars in your fucking Prius. This isn't about being so those of you at a lower level of consciousness completely misunderstand the teaching. Be like, you think, oh, that's not divine saying certain people aren't allowed. If that's how you're interpreting it, I don't know how you made it this far in this episode and why you're listening to me. You're not in a high enough grade. That's never a judgment. Although if you're that low level consciousness, you're going to take it that way and you're going to be offended. You're not ready for this yet, and that's okay. There's no judgment there. You're not inferior, but you're in a different grade. You're not understanding the teaching at all. You're not comprehending it yet. There's no superiority on the new earth. So if you're still misinterpreting and you're coming from superiority, you're going to project that onto me and other people, and you're going to misinterpret the teaching. It's always hilarious when people comment and make their comments and write things in the comments. Well, you, and it's like, that's fucking hilarious. Jesus Christ. It's embarrassing. Like, it's embarrassing what you're doing, and you're blind to it. That's what makes it funny. It's not a judgment. I'm not insulting you. I'm waking you up. There's a difference. So that you can stop doing that to yourself. So do not misunderstand and misinterpret. Elevate higher and understand what I am really saying to you when I say, you can't come, you are not on the new earth, and you will never be on the new earth when you still come from those lower levels of consciousness. It doesn't matter how fucking spiritual you are. You don't have to be spiritual. You do have to vibrate at a higher vibrational frequency. You have to be willing to become the universal ways of oneness. You have to function a much higher level of vibrational frequency. If you're driving a race car around the racetrack with other drivers who are racing and you're all racers, a Prius isn't allowed on the track. It doesn't make sense. It's dangerous. It's literally not permitted. You can't get in. You can't go on to the fucking racetrack in a Prius. At a new earth, you're not on a new earth. If you have not contributed in creating the new earth, you don't get to live on a new earth. This isn't a passive process. I contribute to really? Are you sure? Because that's vibrational frequency. If you have programs running, no, you're not. You're contributing to fucking everything up, and that's the old earth. Your unconsciousness, your ignorance, you can't even see how you're contributing to creating a miserable fucking world of suffering. Because you're still coming from judgment and criticism and superiority, projecting that onto other people. That's not a new earth. See it? That's my invitation to you, is to wake up to that stuff. Before you take action, that means before you comment on people's stuff on social media. Do you understand? Before you take action, typing on your little computer or on your phone. That's taking action. Before you take action, before you fucking comment, before you say anything to your partner, your spouse in reaction, before you answer your boss or your employee, before you send the email. You want to respond to something? Don't respond in the email. Open up a fucking Google Doc. Respond there. Get it out. Step away. Become the ways of oneness. Review what you wrote. You'll see it from a different perspective. Your lower level of consciousness, when you're angry and you're coming from judgment, you're coming from frustration, you're coming from a lack of divinity. Go ahead, write it. Don't send it. Write it. And then become the ways of oneness. Do the work. Elevate, elevate, elevate. Heal, alchemize, elevate. Become more enlightened. Use this as an opportunity to become more enlightened, and then go back and read what you wrote. Now you're at a higher level of vibrational frequency. You are at a higher level of consciousness. You are healed. You're more mature. You're whole. You're more enlightened. And then read what you wrote. And then you'll see all the ways, oh, Jesus, fuck, that sounds terrible. Because you infused the energy that you are, your judgment, your criticism, your being offended, your weakness, your powerlessness. You've infused that into the words that you've written. Energy never dies. Energy is the only thing that's real. You've infused your energy into those paragraphs, into those sentences, into those words. Now go back and read it from a more enlightened perspective, a more elevated, more healed perspective, a more divine perspective. Eek. And then delete or rewrite or make adjustments to it. And now you're infusing your more divine energy into the words, into your response. Whether you're saying those words, whether you're writing those words, it doesn't matter. Come from divinity before you take action. And do the work necessary within yourself to become a being who does that. This is how we create the new earth, a harmonious, the way of harmony. This is how we create it, is by becoming it first and showing up this way, no matter how anyone else is showing up. Don't be codependent. Don't be powerless. Well, you need to show up in order for me to show up that way. Old earth, bullshit. You're still weak and fucking powerless. Stop being a child. Become more powerful than that. I show up that way because I can. I show up in a divine way because that's what I'm capable of, because I am divine. That's the truth of what I am. And that's why I show up that way. That is not dependent on how anybody else in this planet fucking shows up. I show up in my divinity. That is free will choice. And if I fall from grace and I trip and stumble and I fall on my fucking face and I show up in an ugly way that lacks divinity, I am going to learn from that. I am going to expand and grow up and grow out of that. I'm going to heal that. I'm going to alchemize that. I'm going to create harmony where I created disharmony because I was in the forgetfulness of who I actually am, and I showed up as less than divine because I forgot who I was in that moment. That's falling from grace. I don't do that anymore and let that go and let the harm in the world be there because I'm contributing to that harm because I had a moment of forgetting who I was. Don't be that person anymore and justify and make excuses for it. Heal what you've created. Heal what you've done, the harm that you cause, the consequences that you cause energetically as a natural byproduct of simply being you. You are always creating a ripple effect, rippling out, affecting other people, the vibrational frequency that you are, the behaviors that you are, the emotions that you are, the thoughts that you think are rippling out from you always. You are an eternal being in this human form. Wake up to what you actually are. Become the way of responsibility for your thoughts, for your emotions. They are rippling out to everybody always energetically because that's the eternal being that you are. You can't not be that. Energy never dies. Energy is the only thing that exists. You're nothing but energy. Wake up for real. And become a more elevated form of light energy, not harmful energy. That's what it means to become. Become oneness consciousness, not separation consciousness of darkness. Become the light. That has nothing to do with how much you meditate and dance around in your little spiritual outfits, telling everybody Om and brother, sister. That doesn't have anything to do with this. Become authentically is a vibrational frequency. It's 20 different universal ways of oneness to become in human form. That's what it means to become an enlightened being. Make sure you like, subscribe, share this with everyone you know. Go visit Masters of Self University if you want to learn more. Join our Discord community. It's free. Join us on there. We share a lot. You get guidance from our coaches on there. Come join us on our Discord channel. Make sure you buy the Universal Ways of Oneness and read about them and become them. And pay attention and stay tuned for our live events that you can attend in person, getting the activations of the Ways of Oneness and the teachings of them in San Diego, California. We will be holding them soon in 2024. So visit our website, mastersofselfuniversity.com, and check out, pay attention to when we are having our first live event. It's coming soon. So I hope we will see you there when we have them. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.